the Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. How's everyone doing? This is Inside Scoop. We're going to have a great episode. We have an awesome special guest, as you have, if you haven't known, but we will be bringing her on in a second. But as always, we are sponsored by the Versatile Fight Tour, and this is going to be, a big September, October for them, as there's the King of New York. They had the VFT, Europe versus USA, and now we have some brand new news that we're going to get a fight that Friday before King of New York with Thomas Wright, legendary fighter from the 90s, and Trey Lazenby. So, man, this is insane. Alex, what do you think about this when you heard this?
Dude, so it's perfect. I mean, it makes sense that these two hate each other in the sense that they're both kind of the same. And then when I say that they're kind of, because they're not, they're polar opposites, but they're kind of the same in their approach towards a fight,
Correct.
Which is get the heck out of my face. I'm going to fight you and I'm going to hit you. I dare you to say something about it, right? Because unless you've been around the last like 25 years, you might not know who Thomas Wright is. So let's educate just briefly. Trey Lazenby is current, right?
Yeah, can I share? Yes, right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So of course, Trey Lazenby is the son of Marcel Lazenby, Team ATL. Trey Lazenby is a heavyweight fighter, very active, competing all over the place, and they've done well recently as he's moved up to the 30 to 39, winning the senior teams at a lot of tournaments lately. So Trey's been around for years. Thomas Wright, though, hasn't actually actively competed. I think he competed in 2005 a little bit, but that was really the last time. Really actively was 2000. Okay.
Maybe 01.
And he was part of 2000 was the last time he competed. He didn't compete anymore.
Right. It was just wishful thinking on my end.
After our team workout in 2000. So, anyways, he's a student of Ken Eubanks, same school, under Marty Eubanks, Brian Ruth, great talent from Kentucky. Had one of the best ridge hands and one of the best duck under back fists that there ever was. And he, I feel like, influenced Raymond to do that later on, So I believe Thomas, let's see, I'm 30. He's got to be maybe 41, 42. All right. So that's how old he is. He hasn't done this in a long time, but he's been training since probably March for this fight. Okay. He's been training since March for this fight. He did, he beat Zach Winder at a tournament recently. He's been winning some local events out there, trying to get going. So this is going to be a very interesting fight. Thomas is traditionally a lightweight. I don't know where he's at right now, but Thomas was on TDS. He was on Team Elite. So him and Jason Facey at the time were the two best junior fighters that were moving up to adults, okay, in 98. And both those guys just came on the scene and were winning their division, their divisional grand, as there wasn't overalls then. Just a great fighter. I think since it's going to be New York, Mike Conroy is going to be coaching Thomas. If not, I'd be surprised, okay, unless Marty makes a flight up there. So there seems to be some bad blood from this. So it's going to be interesting. At Marty Eubanks tournament, we've heard different stories, this and that. We don't really want to get into that, but this fight's going to be interesting. Yeah. Trey is active. Both of them have, when you've been out for that long, you're probably going to have some win issues, especially 3-round fight. So I don't know. I'm excited. This is going to be crazy because the way both of these guys fight, it's just going to go. And there's going to be some talking in between. There's going to be maybe some shoving. It's just going to be fun.
Maybe some shoving. There will be shoving. Now, it's interesting you said when
there will be.
When you said like, all right, 3 rounds, it's going to be hard. Yeah, 3 rounds is hard unless you're used to that. So the other thing is when you said they're probably going to scrap it up. I think you said that, but they're 100% going to scrap it up.
Yeah.
This is a perfect match for VFT.
You're right, Jason.
Because they're gonna try to bust it up with each other, and then when they do, it just makes it more exciting for us. Who in the world would not want to buy this card? Who in the world would not want to be at the King of New York? This is great. I can't wait for him, man.
Correct. Yeah, you're right, Jason. Every time he's disappeared and came back, it was like he never stopped. You're right.
Those people are dangerous.
One more thing is what's interesting is going to be the cage. So they're not going to be able to really pause competition or stop. Both these guys are infamous for that. So it's going to be really cool. A lot of the tricks of the trade that I learned for point sparring were from Thomas Wright over the years. Okay. Learning about how to say, pretend like you have your contact is kind of messed up, there's all kinds of different fun stuff, slipping your glove down a little bit. He's a crafty fighter. All right. So this is going to be a fun one to see. So we're excited.
Both
and thanks, Jesse, for putting this one on.
Both athletic, both hard hitters, and let's just say this. So we mentioned quite a bit about Thomas because of the way Thomas fights. I mean, I didn't want to have to fight that dude when I was a junior. All right. And I believe he and I are the same age. So that's not like, it's not a spring chicken. Now, Trey, here's the thing. People might forget about this about Trey. So during his time, and I believe if he's fighting right now, he's the best kicker in the world. That's Roman Brundle. That's what I believe. Now, Roman Brundle, when he started competing in the States, it was success immediately. People forget he was at the 2016 Battle of Atlanta and did not win anything. And you might go, oh yeah, that's right. He was there. I wonder why didn't he? Because Trey knocked him out the Friday night. Right? Knocked him out in teams. Right. It's like, that's a real easy way to make somebody not win. All right. Now, I don't know what the rules are going to be in VFT if a knockout happens. I have no idea. I'm not advocating for that. All right.
Trey said that wasn't him.
But that stuff happens.
What?
It wasn't Trey.
All right. So I don't know, man. He said it was Stefan. Yeah, Stefan Ducassi.
Oh man, look at that! I just gave Trey credit.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it's going to be a great fight, so I'm excited for that. All right, let's get to our special guest.
Let's do it.
We are excited to bring on new WWE recruit, Gabrielle Rudolph. How are you doing?
Good. What's up, guys? I'm so happy to finally be on the show.
I know. We've been talking about it for a while. Finally happy to make it happen. So.
All right.
So how are you feeling? Let's tell everybody, like, you've had a whirlwind of 2 months? So yeah, explain all of this. How did this happen?
So it started with an Instagram DM, and I thought it was fake. I was like, okay, this is a scam. Someone's trying to steal my credit card information. Been there, done that. But then afterwards, they liked one of my Instagram reels. And I was like, okay, I checked out the Instagram, and I was like, it's verified. All of this checks out. They're followed by all of these famous people. Maybe this could actually lead to something. And I knew absolutely nothing about wrestling. Nothing whatsoever other than
that's what I was going to ask. All right.
The Rock and John Cena. Nothing. I mean, we had some indie wrestlers that rented out my dad's karate school in New Jersey. So I've seen a few shows like that before, and I thought it was like the scariest thing in the world, getting slammed onto the floor and like having chairs thrown at you on your body. Like I did not think that was ever going to be for me. So yeah, I got the Instagram DM, emailed this guy. We had a few phone calls, and then before I knew it, they were flying me down to Nashville for this super crazy, super exclusive recruitment. And I was surrounded with all of these like super buff, in shape college athletes. And I was like, oh my God, like what did I get myself into? And so I'll talk you guys kind of through the process. So all of us either college graduates or we're still in college, but they're all college athletes. So I was the only person there, the only one that wasn't in an actual college sport. So that was a little like, oh, like this is interesting. So very first day, we had to do check-ins, and they kind of gave us this whole medical spiel. If we're feeling dizzy, stop, don't get a concussion, which I think like 10 people left concussed or just not feeling good. So that was crazy.
Oh yeah, it's wrestling.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty intense. Then the first day, first morning, we did a whole bunch of warm-ups. They wanted to see our agility. We had to do like long jumps, tuck jumps. So obviously like the track and field girls were like killing it. I am not a jumper, which is why my CMX days were very short. So obviously like they killed it in that. I was all right. And then after that, they took us to, what was it called? It was like this tavern in Nashville, downtown Nashville. And it's actually a club. And they revamped it to look like this wrestling arena with 3 different wrestling rings. Okay. And that's when my heart started pumping, like, oh my God, what are they going to make us do? Like, am I going to have to fight people? I don't know what's going on. Obviously not a fighter either. So they warmed us up. They taught us how to do the back bumps, body bumps, pretty standard, basic wrestling techniques. And I was actually loving it. I did not know that I was going to fall in love with it as much as I did. But the one thing that they did not warn me was how bruised and banged up my body was going to get from hitting the ropes. It's
That's what I was just going to say.
No, I think I might have showed you a picture, Jeff, of the bruises. Super banged up. The second day after training, just getting my head off my pillow was excruciating, like all here, all in the back of my neck, like super duper painful. So that was the first like official day of training. I didn't know who any of the pro wrestlers were. So Triple H was there, and also Paul Heyman, and I didn't know who they were. And I was just like super lackadaisical, like introducing myself to all these people. And
these just larger than life monsters just walk through the building.
Oh yeah, super huge guys. And I see Triple H, and I'm figuring, oh, he's probably one of the judges. Like, I'm gonna go up there and like introduce myself. And I was like, hello, sir. Like, it's nice to meet you. I'm really looking forward to this weekend. And he was kind of taken aback. He was like, yeah, really nice to meet you. Like, how are you liking it so far? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Like, I'm really enjoying the process. And then this girl pulls me aside, and she's like, do you know who that was? And I was like, no. And he's like the guy who's now owning all of this. And I was like, oh, well, good thing I was nice. I think the biggest part about the wrestling thing was learning how to do promos. So we had to like memorize lines. We had to do all of that. The first day that we were at the stage house.
This is like a full contact soap opera.
Yeah, I don't know. Somewhere, some big place in Nashville. Yeah.
We had to go onto the stage, introduce ourselves, what we do, our sport. And so I go up there, I'm like, hi, everybody. Like, my name is Gabrielle Rudolph. I'm 22. I do karate. And then after I said I do karate, a lot of people in the audience that were also participants were like, what? She does karate? That's crazy. And everybody gave their spiel. And then Paul Heyman gets up on the stage after everyone. And that man is so wise, so articulate, and he just laid it down. He was like, not many of you were memorable. A few of you were. You guys didn't say your name at the end. And he's just like brilliant, really, really smart guy. So we all go back to our hotel. They gave us these lines that we have to remember for the next day, and they tell you, hey, so tomorrow you're going to be a baby face, or you're going to be a heel. And that's basically like, you're going to act as a good guy, you're going to act as a bad guy. And I was like, okay, like they have to give me the good guy. And no, they gave me the heel. So I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't pack anything in my suitcase that even remotely looks like a bad chick. So I go to the mall with a group of the other girls. I pick out just something red. And then the next day, after doing all of the warm-ups, after all of the rolls, the body bumps, all of that, we had to do our lines at the very end of the day. So a lot of people were kind of like forgetting what they were supposed to say. And yeah, so I go up there and I went into like total karate competition mode. So I walked in like mean mugging, like I had my eyebrows down. And I paused for a few seconds. I put my hands on my hips and I just kind of like looked at the audience, and then I gave like my whole spiel. And Paul Heyman was basically like the head judge plus all of the other coaches. And Paul Heyman grabs the mic and he was like, all right, now I want to tell you one thing. You can interpret it as good. You can interpret it as bad. I want to know what you're thinking. He was like, after seeing you at the edge of the stage, I didn't watch your promo. And I was just like, I hope it was a good thing. And then Paul Heyman stands up, grabs the mic, walks all the way to the back of the arena. And he was like, this is everyone else walking onto the stage. They're like twiddling their hands, looking down. Hey, what's up, guys? This is you going onto the stage. And he like put on this like really angry face. And he was like, you sold me before you even walked on. Nice. And I was like, whoa. And he was like, yeah, it was super cool. And with everyone else, they asked them, okay, so were you portraying a baby face? Were you portraying a heel? And he said, I didn't have to ask you. I know you're playing a bad person. And I was just like, okay, this was a pretty good second day. And then the third day, this is the first time they've ever done this ever. They had a live audience. So not only were we having to take instruction from the coaches, but we're also having to like look good for the audience, because they can boo, they can cheer us on. And obviously that's going to play a big part in what the people that are deciding if we're going to make it or not. So I'm like going into full sport karate mode, making noise, like putting on the faces, like being super over the top.
Okay, no, I got to pause you for a second.
Yeah.
So, because I'm trying to put myself mentally into where you would be, and my head is still spinning just from the story you're telling. Like, I can't believe this. So did you think in that moment, like, all right, Paul Heyman just was like, all right, you did it. You nailed it. The rest of you guys suck. All right. Were you just like, all right, acting like a sport karate competitor got me this far. I'm just going to keep doing that.
Yeah, no, the crazy thing is I probably wasn't even the most athletic person there, which I thought like, oh, I'm so used to all the CMX stuff and like stunt training with Team AKA, like I'm going to be fine. But there were some super athletic people like throwing backflips, and I'm like, I haven't thrown a backflip in like 5 years. So I really think that my personality and my over the topness with my promo definitely helped me. And I'm like, you guys know, I've sang the national anthem for the AKA tournaments, so I'm very used to like being in front of people on a stage and saying
limelight
karate. Yeah, so I just kind of like went to that zone, and I was like, this isn't, I'm competing right now. This is karate. I'm zoned in. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember when you told me about this, like I got so excited because, again, if people don't know, I'm a huge wrestling fan. So I was all like, all right, this is awesome. This is cool. All right, so if this is what you need to do, I'm just kind of like, all right. But it was really cool. And, you know, we're all proud of you. I think when you go to something like that and you hear about these big tryouts that they have, you never know what it's going to turn out like, what they're really looking for at that moment, especially right now with them looking for athletes. You know, that's what they're looking for. You know, they may have one in a couple months where it's all independent wrestlers that they bring in because, you know, so you never know what it is that they're looking for. So it was really cool. And again, I think it shows that you being able to go through this journey of sport karate and just, all of that preparing you for this moment. You know what I mean? Like, people don't realize that, like, what we do when we go on stage, like, that prepares us for so many things in life. So what do you think? I mean, you kind of shared it already, but what are some things that sport karate helped you with, at least in this moment?
I would say the most important thing is probably the stage presence, because you can be. I saw some amazing, some amazing athletes that were great at hitting the ropes and doing the rolls, but they went up on the stage and they were like stuttering, swaying from left to right, and you could tell they were just super uncomfortable. But I feel like with NASCA and having us compete on these huge stages with our nerves through the roof, like that's definitely that definitely gave me an edge over everyone else. Right. I think another thing is we do karate. We're used to getting hit. Like we're used to point hitting. We're used to all of that. So the fact that I knew that I was going to have to take a few punches and, get swung around a little bit wasn't off-putting. So like there were some other girls that came in like doing soccer and track and field. And when they had to practice like the bumps, like you could tell that that wasn't their thing. Like they weren't comfortable with something that hurts. So I think that definitely edge.
Which is probably why there was 10 people that had concussions, because they didn't know how to tuck their chin right. Probably when they did falls and stuff, right?
Yeah, there was actually
their face out doing the chest bump like this.
Yeah.
Dislocate his shoulders, is that what you said?
Yeah, there was a guy who fully dislocated his shoulder there. So it was really hard stuff. Ugh. And on top of all the wrestling training that we did, we had to condition like 3 times throughout the day. So it was pretty intense.
Yeah. Cool. This is cool though, because now you're the second WWE star that we've had on our shows. We had Arya Davari on before, and he is actually one of Alex's black belts, and so he was on there for almost 10 years, and now he's on AEW. Now he has a contract with them, so really cool.
Jeff, isn't this wild?
Go, Alex.
We've had 2 WWE black belts, WWE performers that are black belts, and neither of them are Ernest Miller.
Right.
That's
I know. We hadn't even had Ernest on yet. I know. That's wild. But yeah, so it's really cool just to see, how many sport karate people are on there, and who knows, there could. I mean, I think there's some definitely athletes that could do it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Are there some that come to your mind?
Well, immediately the first person that came to my mind was Shaquan.
Yes.
Because Shaquan is like over the top.
Did I tell you that, Jeff?
Yes.
I think he'd be great. Obviously, like not only just his social media following, but with the crazy stuff that he can do, like I'm sure he could bring that to the ring.
Yeah, and he's in shape enough to where he can handle the size and stuff too. Yeah,
and another thing too is all of the men in those divisions are like super huge, 6 feet tall, jacked guys, and I feel like Shaquan could probably take that.
But you answered that question incorrectly. You were supposed to say Jackson.
Oh yeah, Jackson too.
Oh yeah. You forget. That's the thing. You're a rookie in the game. You forget that that's supposed to be. You say that so that way it's a knee-jerk reaction, and then you get to say what you really think.
Training me well to be a good wife. I'll remember that.
No. Don't say I train nobody to do nothing. Don't do nothing like that. I don't want those problems.
Yeah, the crazy thing though about this entire WWE experience is that I didn't even bring my karate shtick until the very last day. So Century Martial Arts, the best, like my savior, I didn't expect to have to wear like a costume or anything, but these girls were going decked out, leather, like all of these costumes on, and I was like, oh shoot, like I don't have anything like that. I brought jeans and like some tank tops. So Century overnighted me a uniform that I wore on the last day, and that's when I was like, all right, all or nothing. I go onto the stage. We had to do like group call outs. And so we were the last group to go on. The group before us, they're all right. They're okay. So we get on stage and I take off my gi top and I'm making direct eye contact with the group that went up before us. I slammed my gi top like right in front of them. I grabbed the mic and I was like, that was pathetic. And then we went into like our whole little I was so sassy. It was so fun.
That's
It was
awesome.
so much fun. And then after that, I wasn't expecting to be offered the contract the same day. So everyone was getting ready to leave. And one of the main recruiters, Brad, was like, hey, Gabrielle, like, can you stay behind to do some interviews? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And we told a few other people to stay behind for interviews. So we're waiting. And we're like, what's going on? Like, this is taking a really long time. Most of the people downstairs have cleared out. And they separated the boys and the girls into two different groups. And so one at a time, they're telling the girls to come with them. And I was the last person in the room. So I was like, what the heck is going on? I was waiting like 10 minutes by myself, like breaking out in cold sweat. And then finally Brad was like, all right, save the best for last. Let's go into this interview, quote unquote. And so then he leads me to this back like office area. And then I see Triple H sitting at this panel with a whole bunch of like the higher ups, all these cameras in my face. And I was just like super overwhelmed, like had no idea that was about to happen. And yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen the video where he offers me the once in a lifetime opportunity. And yeah, the crazy thing though is that I haven't even signed the contract yet. I have not even read it. So that's next on my to-do list.
Time out.
All right.
Time out. How long has this contract been sitting in your possession?
A day.
Oh, never mind then.
No, we literally just got it today. So we still have yet to go through it.
Go through it. Okay.
You just said like it's been sitting there a week.
Awesome.
I'm like, what are you
Man, this is a wild experience.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So let's go into your journey as far as in martial arts and from growing up in a martial arts school and then how you got into NASCA and really just going from there.
Yeah, so I was definitely a late bloomer when it came to winning or even doing remotely well on the circuit. Both my parents own karate schools. My dad owns Karate World in Kenilworth, New Jersey. My mom, my stepdad owned Connecticut Martial Arts in Danbury, Connecticut. So my first style growing up, even though I'm prominently a Japanese kata competitor, was Taekwondo. Like that was my style all the way through. So I grew up doing Junri curriculum Taekwondo.
Sorry for better.
So Junri was actually really, really close with my family. Me and my brother growing up actually called him Grandpa Ri. He took my dad and my mom to South Korea, and with Junri, they even performed for President Bush. So Taekwondo, love my kicks. Then my really good friend, Maya Domenico, was training with one of my dad's old students, Jessica Millen. And she was very prominent in NASCA coming up. And Jessica was just getting married. So she was like, hey, I have this student. I don't really work with her anymore. Her name's Sammy Suddeth. And I think that you would benefit from working with her. So Maya was like, yeah, okay, like I'll do it. They were getting along really well. Sammy was like, hey, Maya, there's this boot camp in Chicago with Team AKA, my team, and I think you should really go. Maya was like, sure, did it, came back. And then she was telling me all about it. I wasn't really big into the tournament scene. I actually was more of a point fighter when I was a little kid coming up in my little tweens. So I wasn't even like that big into sport karate, had no idea how to do a good chop punch. And she was like, hey, there's this karate camp. I think you'd really like it. We could have a lot of fun. It's a month long, meet really cool people. I was like, sure, why not? I was 12 years old. Yeah.
Did you say a month long?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's a month. Wait, so you're from Connecticut. So then you go.
You didn't know that?
For an entire month
Mm-hmm.
in Naperville.
Yeah.
And stay where?
At the dojo.
No.
Sleep on the nights. Heck
No,
yeah.
No,
listen, this is like the best experience ever. This is where like 5th, 6th place competitors become top of the top. Like Micah Carnes, Brendan Hewer, Mike Chat, all of those like old AKA competitors. Like this is like that is home.
Okay, wait a minute.
Awesome.
So for an entire month,
An entire month.
you slept in a karate school.
Yeah.
I could tell you a couple nights I slept in a karate school because I was out the night before, and I'm like, ain't no way I'm making it there in the morning. I better crash here tonight. A month? All right, continue. I'm sorry. Still trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah. So month-long boot camp, working out from like 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., sometimes 9 p.m. We would sometimes do 3 a.m. workouts. So it's like really, really tough, intense training. But I
3
mean,
a.m.?
yeah, we would do like a 3 a.m. workout.
Well, I mean, what else are you going to do in a karate school?
True.
There's nothing else to do.
Nothing else.
If you're not,
True.
how about this?
Yeah.
If you're not amazing by the end of that camp, what did you do? There's a month in a karate school. There's literally nothing else to do. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I'll stop now. I got to stop.
But yeah, through those camps, like I fell in love with sport karate. I was a CMX kid, and I learned how to do creative forms and tricking and all of that cool stuff. And that's really the only thing that I competed with up until I was about 16. That's when I really started getting into traditional forms. At the beginning, I started training with Joey Castro, and he really like gave me the roots on how to compete in Japanese forms. And then I started training with Sensei Robert Young out of Kensei Kan Dojo in Miami. And from there, that's when I really started to grow my wings in Japanese kata. So, and
all right. So that is a question I have. And then I'm loving this story, by the way. So who was it that was like,
Yeah, it's great.
hey, you should really get into this Japanese kata? Who was that?
my mom,
Wait,
my
what?
mama. Yeah, so I feel like
It's even better.
I was focusing so much on the CMX stuff, and traditional forms was kind of like an afterthought. I was competing with forms like Gopai Sho, or I was doing my Korean forms. They weren't really doing well. I was getting like consistent 4th, 5th place. And I always loved traditional forms. I just wasn't getting the results that I wanted. So I would go in on Saturday, and there were even sometimes that I would skip traditional so I could focus on creative forms. And then out of nowhere, it was just like complete 180. And the rest is history.
Damn.
All right.
No, it's not just the rest is history. No, it's not that, because there's so much to unpack there. And I was
That's
trying
right.
to process.
Yeah,
so
there's
much.
a lot more.
Okay, so yeah, so that's kind of how you got going. But
Mhm.
now at that point, you're competing. You are now a competitor. That's who you are, right? So you ditched the fighting. Okay, all right. You ditched the fighting. You're like, let's focus, okay? And your focus for divisions at that time was what?
CMX forms.
CMX. That's it.
Yep, I only did forms. I was never a weapons competitor.
Right. CMX forms and no traditional yet in competition?
I was competing with like low-level Korean forms like Basai. Then I went up to Yushin, some different Korean forms, but
Yeah.
it wasn't really placing very high against the other Japanese competitors. So I just kind of fizzled. I didn't have any Japanese karate background, so I wasn't really confident switching up a form. And yeah, it was crazy how things changed over the years. So I did start off with Gopai Sho because that was Team AKA's
Team AK, yeah.
form. And then from there, I was like,
I feel
okay,
you can't make orange belt there without knowing Gopai Sho.
yeah, exactly. Like that's the Team AKA form. And then from there, my stepdad was like, hey, Gabrielle, I just learned this really cool form. I think you should try it out, see if you like it for competition. The kata was Chatnyar Kusanku. I thank God every day that there is no video of me.
Why?
I think it was 2016 where I first busted it out at the New England Open, and it was atrocious. My cat stances, basically just me standing up with my toe on the floor. Awful.
Go on the floor.
So bad. But then from there, I had a dojo mate, Afonso Santos, who was training with Joey Castro. And I was like, okay, like this guy seems to know what he's doing. So then from there, that's when the gears started turning. I was starting to kind of get higher and higher in placing. And then from there, Afonso was working with Ariel Torres as well, and Ariel trained with Robert Young. And I was like, oh, wow, like this is really cool. Ariel's kind of like the top guy in NASCAR right now. Like, of course, his sensei is going to be awesome. So I started training with him. And this turned around kind of when I went to college. So I didn't even have a dojo. I was training in like the tennis room, what is it called? The racquetball room after classes. I was doing like the online classes with Robert Young.
Yeah.
And so from there, that's when I really started accelerating in the sport. And then I felt like I was kind of moving away from my Korean roots, like my Korean.
Oh, you had already ditched them at this point. They're gone.
I mean, I still trained. It's just not at the level that I should have been training it. And I'm going to get to some really cool coaches in a second.
Dude, June Reed disciple, literally called him grandpa, and you're like, forget you, grandpa.
I know.
We're over here doing a GoPie show.
Oh my God, yeah. No, and that's something that I wish I did focus a little bit more on when I was growing up, because I put all of my focus into CMX and then Japanese, and I know I got a little bit lost in the process. But then I started working with my mom when I came back to Connecticut, and she taught me Gay back and all these different Taekwondo forms that were more competitive with NASCAR. And then I started working with John Chung, and he helped me a lot with my side kicks, because I would kind of lean my body all the way over and just hope for the best with my leg. Then I started working with Coach Jeff over here. And honestly, just this past year, I felt like my Korean forms have never been better. So I feel like before it was like my Japanese forms were here, Korean forms were here, and now I feel like it's a little bit more even. So that makes me really happy.
I got a question.
Yeah.
It's been a great time. Yeah.
I'm wanting to know, because I mean, you just from listing the people that you've trained with, it's like the who's who of who the heck is good in Korean and Japanese martial arts. I mean, there's just so much to process as far as what you've said so far. So, all right, let's just for like, there's so much to do here. So Joey and Ariel and Ariel's instructor, Robert. Say it again.
Robert Young.
Robert Young. Okay. What was that like? Tell me what it was like with them.
Yeah. So in the beginning,
a nugget from maybe each of them.
Okay. So my brother had a small little dojo in Newtown, Connecticut, and Joey Castro would drive up, train us, and then drive back to New Jersey. And so that's when like we were starting to get the real traditional training. That's when he was breaking down all the basics. Oh yeah, my mom commenting, "Hey mom, how are you?" And then from there, we wanted to like amp it up a little bit and get some outside instruction. That's when we started doing the Zoom lessons with Robert Young. And we were fortunate enough that he was willing to do like private lessons with us, because he usually teaches over a group class setting. And that's when he is so meticulous with every single like muscle in your body. And it's insane how much knowledge that man has in his brain. And we were lucky enough to be able to go to his dojo in Miami and train with him a few times. And he let us stay in our house when we were there. So it was really, really cool. And then when I was breaking out into WKF, that's when Ariel started taking like a really, that's when he really started training me. And then from there, I felt like I made the most progress in my training as a karateka.
Nice.
So,
okay. That's pretty cool. But now I do want to know a little bit, because I mean, it was one of my favorite shows we've ever had when we had John Chung on the show. I mean, I hold John Chung like here, as far as not just like Korean form stylists, kickers. I really just all around martial arts. People don't know about John Chung. Obviously, you probably do. But John Chung was a badass fighter too in his time too, right? You couldn't even be a black belt back then without being a badass. But whatever, right? What was that like training with him? Because I never got to train with him, right?
Yeah. So the first time he ever trained me, I was probably like 11 years old, and he was telling us a story about how he could never get a full split. Like it was couldn't do it. And then one day when he was trying to do his splits, his brother came over and he stepped down his split so he could get all the way down to the floor. And then after telling that story, he was like, Gabrielle, come to the front for us. And I was like, okay. He's like, all right, will you fold in half for me? I was never flexible. I couldn't do a full split until after the seminar. So first he has me reach for my toes. He sits flat on my back until my chest could touch my legs. I'd never done that before. Wow. Then he was like, all right, now hit a split for me. I was probably like this much off the floor. Pushes my hips down all the way down to the floor, and I have never been that sore in my entire life. So yeah, he is like the real deal, like old school training.
What year is this?
Probably 2011. So this was before I even did sport karate.
That movement doesn't age well.
Wow.
Couldn't pull that off today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But we all been there.
Hey, it's like the YouTube videos you see of the Korean guys.
No, you said it, man. Exactly.
But yeah,
all right. Continue with the story, Gabrielle, because I'm loving where you're going.
The crying kid.
Keep going.
And then I would start out doing sport karate, and I would go to his tournament. If I can only remember the name of it, I think it was the Sidekick National.
Sidekick International.
Oh yeah.
Sidekick International, and that's probably one of the first sport karate tournaments that I ever did. And I kind of like put him on this pedestal and idolized him because we used to watch all of his videos, and I remember watching his Yushin, and that's how I learned Yushin, from watching his videos. And then years later, not until I moved up into the 18 plus Korean division, that's when I started training with him, exclusively doing private lessons every week. And that's when I really started gaining some momentum in the division. But my family was really close to him growing up. Yvette, his wife, remembers me when I was in my mom's stomach. So just really close family ties. I've always considered them like an aunt and uncle. So
damn,
super cool.
Awesome. That's cool stuff. All right. So we're getting all over the place. We're really really learning where you're coming from, and we of course, and you've listened to our show, we talk a lot about Korean stylists and sticking with Korean styles and not doing Japanese, but at the same time, I do both as well. I'm a Shotokan black belt, American freestyle black belt, and a Taekwondo black belt. So I do a little bit of everything as well. So it's good to cross train and do it. I've had so many conversations this week with Korean stylists wanting to learn how to compete on NASCA doing Korean. And I've sent several emails and messages to promoters over the past few months on getting a Korean challenge started. So the more we can do, to push that, I think, would be a great thing for the sport, because again, like we talked last week during our show with Richard, if we get Taekwondo schools in here, we're going to grow it big time.
There's going to be a boom in NASCA. The sad thing too is that there's a lot of underbelts, juniors that are amazing at Korean forms, like just awesome, but they feel like they have to learn Japanese forms to score well. I mean, I thought the same thing growing up.
Right.
So I feel like if we did add a Korean challenge, then it would just completely transform NASCA.
Right. And I think the reason why is because they don't see it enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like they don't see it enough. The judges don't see Korean forms enough, so like they don't know what they're really looking at. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with Kempo. Like there's only 2 divisions of each of those in the whole tournament. And so most of those competitors have been doing Japanese for 8 years as juniors, and now they're going up and doing this. So they don't know how to do that. That was one reason why I really loved the NBL, because there was that for junior competitors, and the judges got to see that throughout, and they were experienced at watching all of it and judging all of it, not just one style or what they think traditional is. it's weird to think that to many people, Japanese is the only traditional art there is. And that's not the truth, you know?
No, something really disheartening that unfortunately happened to one of my students does a beautiful Korean form, competed, got like 6th place, and she probably should have gotten much higher. And she asked the judge, hey, like, what can I do to improve? And the judge straight up said, oh, well, you know, Japanese forms are just more, you need to be more athletic to do the Japanese forms. Like they're harder than Korean forms. And for me to hear that, like doing Korean forms, Japanese forms, like I am gassed. I am winded after doing Korean forms. Like I'd say that Korean forms are so much harder than Japanese forms, because not only do you have to hold that balance with those kicks, but all of the energy that you go up doing with like the jumps and all of the spinning kicks, it's just, you need to be a mega athlete to pull off a really good Korean form.
You have to use every muscle in your body. And if you have any small bobble, it's recognizable, especially on one leg, you know. So that's the hard part, which, you know, is because we've been trying to do a new form for a long time now, and she's like, no, I have this bobble. It's funny, but again, it's the truth though, because if we have one small thing, and that's why when people ask me, why don't you do Moon Moo during division? It's not a division form. I'm not doing it for a division. I'm not going to risk it for that. I'll do it on stage, you know, if I'm doing it, because you're already up there. If I mess up, whatever. But I'd rather do it up there and show how hard of a form it is. And if I mess up, everyone understands. But you don't want to do that and lose in the division.
But Jeff, at the same time, I'm going to be honest with you.
Go ahead.
I don't think most of the insiders, most of the listeners have ever heard of Moon Moo before you brought it up on the show a couple years ago. You know why? Because I never heard of it before you said that. Now, if I've never before you were
again,
like,
you have to educate them.
Moon Moo. I never even looked the thing up. All right. I looked it up and I was like, get out of here. This is not real. This is imaginary. Right? This is like a transformer. Someone's not actually doing this. Right? So it's so incredibly hard that if somebody does that without a massive bobble, just give them the win. Just shut the doors. It's over. Right? Nobody could contest with that. It's that awesome. Yeah. But hey, I also at the same time, I'll give it. Yeah. I'm going to give Japanese kata its respect. All right. That when you perform it the physical best way you possibly can, you do feel like my arms are going to fall off. Right. You do feel like that way. I mean, and if you don't, just watch an Ariel Torres video and then you'll probably want to do it like that. Right.
Yeah. No, you know what? Both styles are just so different. Like after doing the Japanese stuff, like my wrists have bled before, like walking off the US Open stage just this past tournament, like my wrists were bleeding. So that versus being just like super winded from Korean forms, I mean, it's so different. And I feel like with Japanese forms, like all of the hitting that I have to do against my chest, like my stomach hurts after competing. Whereas with Korean forms, it's like my legs are jello.
Yeah.
So
how do your wrists bleed?
All right, I want to get into this. Yeah, you can explain this, but I want to get into what we're talking about with sport karate female competition. You know, because that's definitely something right now. I know this past weekend they ran the women's grand off during the day. You know, they didn't have them featured in the overall in the finals. There's still a lot of things like that, but right now, and as you will be stepping away, who are some of the competitors that like you're excited to see, get spotlighted, get featured?
First of all, not confirmed. I will be stepping away. You guys better expect me in diamonds, pulling up.
All right. All right. Good stuff.
Sorry. Some people that I'm really excited about are definitely Sarah Campbell. Like, not only is she my teammate, but she's one of my students. And honestly, that girl has got a really good Japanese form. And I think once she like breaks out of her shell of traditional forms, she's going to be like the top competitor. She's super, super good. So, and even with her bow form, she's exciting to watch now.
Yeah, she definitely is. She definitely is.
That sounds great. We got the crowd. We got
all right.
for this one.
Who are some of the ones that have challenged you and you feel like put you to where now you are known as the top traditional woman on the circuit?
Well, coming up through the ranks, it was 100% Melissa Belajon. Like she was, She was the face of girls kata. And there was a time that I didn't think I would even get a 7 on her. So the fact that I was able to kind of rise up and finally, do well against her, that was a really validating point in my career. Like, wow, like I can do this. So she was definitely one of the competitors that pushed me to be a better karateka. I'd say more recently, and she was out for a little bit because with the traveling, with COVID and being in Canada, definitely Rose. So she was one of my early friends coming up through NASCA. So we were always like pushing each other, and it's really cool that she's back now and doing really well in the circuit. And I think she just won one of the America, and she won weapons. Yeah. So it's cool.
Overall. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I like watching her. She's and surprisingly very well rounded too. Does different styles. I think she does Kempo as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So she does a little bit of everything. So really excited to see her more on the circuit as travel and everything is getting better. So, let's see, who's another one that as far as who did you look up to growing up? Female competitors.
Ooh, that's a really interesting one. And it's kind of strange because we ended up being friends in the end, but definitely Mackenzie Emery, because I started out as a CMX girl. And so when I was 12 and she was probably 15, 16, she was the person that I would watch on stage. And I was like, wow, like if only I can move like that one day. Like she's awesome. And then years later, she was dating Reed Presley at the time. And I first started dating Jackson when I was like 15. And so because Jackson was really close friends with Reed and Reed was dating Kenzie, we'd all like hang out together. And at first I was like super shy. You could not pry more than 3 words out of me. Like I could not believe that I was sitting at the same table with all of them. Even like with Jackson, I'm sure he could tell you about this. When I first
he shared this before.
Yeah, he did.
I was like super just nervous around him all the time. And look at us now.
Now she's telling him, get out of the shot. This is my interview.
Yeah, but now like he can't shut me up. So yeah. But it was really cool to be able to have that relationship with Mackenzie. Let me think. Another person I looked up to. Well, obviously Jessica Mellon. She was my father's student. I got to see her kind of transform into this mega competitor in NASCA. Beautiful sidekicks. She was on team sidekick with John Chung. And her ethic was insane. So I'd be at the karate school. I'd probably like 5 or 6, really, really young. And she would put in her headphones and then she would get in the bar for, I swear, like 10 minutes straight, just straight roundhouse kicks. And then she would throw out those side kicks, hold 5 seconds, then she'd go off the bar. Same thing, like her work ethic was insane. So those are definitely 2 people that I looked up to.
That's awesome. Yeah, she was a great competitor.
Jessica Mellon's fantastic kicking talent.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think,
definitely.
as the kicking expert, Jeff, where do you put Jessica Mellon's kicking talent?
I'm upset that I didn't feature her on my kicking list years ago because I think she deserves to be on it. Yeah, I think she's definitely a top 10 kicker. So
we might have to revamp this. We might have to revamp this, Jeff.
Yeah, we might have to revamp it.
Maybe we'll.
There's also some new ones now that are really good too. That weren't on my radar then.
Think alike, my friend.
Oh man, yeah. So it's So again, I'm excited about the growth of sport karate female competition. What is something though that you would like to see the league do for female competitors more?
I don't like the running off. I think if we could not run off, that'd be good.
Yeah, I agree. I think for
Yeah.
all adult divisions.
Yeah. No, I feel like if they could not run off the adults, that would be wonderful.
Well, I want to ask you this about
all
the
right, hold on.
runoff.
Go ahead, Alex.
Because for me, right, because I'm certainly not someone who's a participant in that model, right? The runoff, for whatever it is, whether it's juniors, it's boys, it's girls, it's men, it's women, it's the most exciting division in the tournament, the runoff, right? So do you feel the same? Number one.
I feel like for juniors, absolutely. Because there's the age differences, so you're going to have more competitors. But for adults, I feel like you can put everyone on stage. If there's only 4 competitors, there's no reason to only take 2 to stage. And
Right.
I mean, that's just how I feel. Because I feel like for the other 2 competitors, like that could have been.
Wait. You're saying for juniors,
Right. Like this past
should
weekend,
run off.
they had 3 competitors. They got rid of 1. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for juniors, you're
Sorry,
saying,
we're talking
they
the
should
same
probably still keep doing the runoff.
Oh no, for juniors, I definitely think unless you guys want like a 6-hour show, then they should definitely run off the juniors. But I'm saying for adults, like if they're only gonna scrap 2 people, 1 person, then I feel like it's not worth it.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
At that point, you're not.
And it's not that
you're not doing anything except for shitting on the one person who didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. All right. So we've had some good talks about your career and what's going on, what's next for it. One thing that we wanted to talk about, Alex and I, and what's funny is both of us have experience with this thing that's coming out. It's a new show coming out called Kitty Kai, and on Discovery. And so it's something that we all need to discuss and talk about because it could be a great thing for our karate schools. It could not. Who knows? But I know that I was at several of the tapings, and you were at one of the tapings. So what was the first thing when you saw the trailer? What was the first thing that you noticed or you thought?
I think it has potential. I feel like it could bring more eyes to sport karate, which is always a good thing. Like I feel like our sport as is already so small. So the fact that we can get some extra eyes on it can't hurt. I was able to be in one of the episodes, which is super cool. They had like a mock tournament, but it was like an actual tournament. So it was really interesting. So I got on stage and I did my Japanese form. But then John Chung was like, all right, now do you want to go do your Korean form? So I was like, oh my gosh. So we'll see which form gets aired. But
and I don't know how they're doing it. I was brought in as a center judge for a weekend where they did certain tournaments and filming, and they also were at about 3 other tournaments where they filmed. And I guess on the trailer there's a good picture of me breaking up the action or whatever. I'm interested to see how it looks. The final thing looks. For me, I think the biggest thing that stands out the whole trailer is the burn the karate school down and piss on the ashes comment. I think, so that kind of gets me like, wow, okay, here we go.
So did you ever watch the movie?
Go Alex.
Did you ever watch the movie Foot Fist Way?
No, I haven't.
Yes.
You have what? Okay, that's the thing. Don't worry about it. You can find it somewhere to stream and do that. You and Jackson just sit back, stream it. Is it Foot Fist Way? Is that what it is, Jeff? Foot Fist Way. You guys are gonna watch that tonight.
That's it.
And I promise entertainment. Anyway, but so it's basically it's about a bad karate school, a bad taekwondo school, right? and it's a comedy. But the shtick of the guy who's there, he just kind of has the persona that, and I don't know the person who made that comment, right? The burn the school
But
down
it's
and do
it's
whatever to
exactly
the
like
ashes.
that.
It's like the same guy, right? So that's the only part that makes me go, because he was it's depicted in the movie, this character is, you're just a schlep rock who doesn't have anything else going on in life except for this bad feeling karate school, right? So, and that's what makes me want to go, are they going to poke fun? You know what I mean? And I don't know the answer to it. And I don't know. Hopefully,
Right.
if you guys
Right.
are in it a little bit more, it won't be that way, right?
Right. Yeah, and this is in my area. This is all based around like my area of martial arts, like the location, my regional area. So
DMV.
one of the schools is an hour away, Danville, Virginia. John Chung's is in DC area. And then the other one is in Raleigh, which is about 2 hours away. And then the other school, the Kung Fu school, is maybe 3 hours away, 3.5. So it's kind of all in that area. I did some of the initial interviews and stuff about figuring out what the show was going to be like. So one day I'll probably share more about that, about just that process and stuff. But I'm interested to see how it goes. I hope that, either way, it gets people into martial arts, and then whatever you represent, you let them know, like, this is what we represent. We don't represent that. Or if you do, then that's great for you. Yes, Mark Williams School is that. Yeah. But so I don't know. It could be an exciting thing for our schools. So I think that starts in September 6th for our sport. So
Not in
all
love
right.
with the name Kitty Cow.
Alex, what do you got last?
You know what I mean? Not in love with the name.
Yeah, I'm not either.
But I get that they're trying to make it,
No,
it's just
me neither.
kids, that's all right. Could have cut. Maybe it's not bad.
Yeah.
Could have been better. What were you
Not
asking?
too
I'm sorry.
bad.
I'm sorry.
All right,
Ask
so
me.
Gabrielle. No, Gabrielle. So what's the next thing you got going on? Maybe this weekend, this next month. What's next?
All right, so WWE is flying me out on Monday to Orlando, so I'm going to visit the facility, and they're making me go under medical screenings and make sure that I'm healthy. But anyone who's really close to me knows that I'm the world's biggest needle phobe. Like I pass out when I see needles or think about blood, see blood, which is not very good because I'm marrying someone in medical school, or I'm married to someone in medical school, so that's pretty interesting. So they have to do blood work and all that stuff. So I'm just praying and fingers crossed that I don't faint, because that'll be a little embarrassing. So that's this upcoming week. We get to see the facility and to meet all of the other NXT athletes. And then they're going to do an NXT wrestling event in which all of the new signees are going to be there, and they're going to pan to us probably and make our first appearance on live television. So it should be pretty interesting. Yeah.
Damn. So
awesome. Good stuff.
I got a question though. Little off topic. Okay, it's very off topic.
Okay.
It's been a short stint. What's married life been like so far?
Honestly, it has been like the best day every day. And I know that's like so smushy and it sounds like,
yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Like we have been long distance our entire relationship. So just the fact that we can be in the same vicinity of each other and eat breakfast together every morning, it's just, it's so perfect.
Now, where are you guys located? You guys in DC?
We're in Bethesda. Yeah. So it's like right outside of DC.
Okay. You guys staying there? Are you guys traveling around, or it all depends on where WWE takes you?
There's a lot of unknown right now.
Wow.
So with WWE, they most likely are going to want me to have to move down to Orlando, and that would kind of be my home base. But with Jackson next year, he's going through clinicals. So he's with USU, which is the military medical school. Yeah. So he's going to be traveling to a whole bunch of different military bases, and they have their hospitals there, and that's where he's going to be doing his training. So
he's going to be bouncing around no matter where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Man, do you guys get to sit down and like have a break? Do you guys get to have like? Do you get mail delivered to you anywhere, or is it just always PO boxes?
We're always traveling, and we love traveling. So, hey, we see it as a plus.
Hey, do it now, and then you guys
That's
will have
awesome.
kids.
That's good
That's
stuff.
over.
Mhm.
Man,
I'm saying like now's the best time for this to happen. So, 100%.
yes.
That comment. Do you even get mail?
Yeah, that's great.
Do you? I just looked. You know what's
Oh
funny?
man, this has been a great episode, Gabrielle.
I'm the worst about mail.
Jeez,
I'm the
we're
worst.
so
I don't know
far
about you, Jeff.
behind.
I'm the worst. I looked the other day. Promise is the truth about mail. I know this is like way off topic. So, I think I mentioned on the pod last week or the week before. Totaled my wife's car, right? Totaled it, right? Did I mention this on the pod, Jeff? I know I told you, right? So it's yeah, but it was a blessing. She's got like thebomb.com now. It's whatever, but it's cool. So we're going through all this stuff, like, oh, this chaos. Where was that paperwork? We're going through. We had like bills. I just didn't even pay because it was in the mail. And who looks at mail? And then I found like checks that came through the mail, never even looked at. I got bills that never looked at, checks I never looked at. Who looks at mail?
I mean, hey,
Email
the
me.
checks are a pro, but
Email me.
the bills.
Whatever.
Oh, sorry about the car that stinks.
Oh, check it though. So I total her Kia Sorento, right? This is a Kia. That's what she ends up with an Infinity QX60, and this thing basically drives itself, right? It's like I every day I find out a new feature on this thing I never knew existed, but it's whatever. I'm happy for her. I'm glad she got it.
We love literally the same thing happened to me just on Friday. I was driving to my dad's house. Oh my God, excuse me. All of a sudden, I drive a stick shift. All of a sudden, my car starts slowing down, middle lane, going 65, 40, 30, 20, dead stop. And there's a car zooming behind me going like 80 miles per hour, 90 miles per hour. Thank God there wasn't a car in the left lane because he was like probably like 25 feet away from me and then zooms over into the next lane and then is like zigzagging. So car is also dead. But me and
Except
Jackson
we bought a new one.
But we just bought a new car, so I'm picking up my
wow.
new car this weekend.
What kind of car are you getting?
A BMW. A used one.
Oh.
But hey, yeah.
Getting a
You gotta
BMW.
tell that part.
Okay, not a used one. Brand new BMW.
You're not supposed to. Yeah, you're not supposed to say that.
Yeah, we're super excited. It's our first car together, so.
Wow.
Awesome.
Well, not awesome that you almost died, but awesome
Yeah,
that you get a BMW.
A little bit of a damper, but it's all right. I'm here.
Man, this has been a fantastic show. This is super cool. All right.
Yes.
I'm loving it. I know Jeff is loving it. We'll have to have you on again the next time. We've been talking. I mean, obviously, we've been talking about having you on for a while before we got to have you on. Maybe we'll have you and Jackson on together. That would be cool. Talk
That'd
about
be
some
fun.
electrifying
Yeah,
entertainment.
we would love that.
All right. Loving it here. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week.
Bye.